My fiancée said, "It's not just my family's debt anymore, it's our debt." Then I found out her cousins were calling me their way out. So I called off the engagement and took back my future. When I slipped the ring onto Emily's finger, I felt like something steady had finally locked into place. "I am 34. She said yes with tears that weren't loud but honest, and for a few days afterward, everything felt softer, like edges had been sanded down. We talked about small things that suddenly felt important. What month to book, whether to invite distant relatives, how minimal or loud the reception should be. We laughed at houses we could never afford and bookmarked venues like people collecting favorite songs. It was easy to imagine a life that fit together. Little signs started showing up, quiet at first. She would step into the hallway to take a call and stay gone longer than seemed necessary. Once she answered and her tone changed in a way I couldn't place, she came back and said she was tired. When talk turned to money, who would handle deposits, whether to split costs, she sidestepped. "We'll figure it out," she said, and smiled the way people do when they don't want to worry someone they love. On a Saturday, we went ring shopping again, this time for wedding bands. She tried on a few and settled on one that fit like it had always belonged to her. While the jeweler boxed it, I asked, casual enough to sound normal, how much she had saved toward the wedding. Her smile faltered. Her eyes drifted away. "I've got my part," she said quickly. The answer was neat and final, but there was a small pause before the words. I noticed it and told myself it was nerves. I told myself to trust her. 2 weeks later, we were at her parents' for dinner. There was chatter about a low-key summer barbecue and a suggestion of old family stories that made everyone laugh. Her father had a drink and a loose tongue. In the middle of a joke, he said, as if it were nothing, "Well, with Michael here, maybe we'll finally get some breathing room with the creditors." The table quieted. Her mother's face went tight. Emily's hand froze over her plate. I stepped into another room and texted her. What did he mean? The message sat there unanswered. We drove home with the radio filling up empty spaces. At our place, I stopped pretending the question could wait. I asked what he had meant, and she started talking like someone trying to keep a dam from breaking. She told me about overdue notices shoved behind magazines and about envelopes that arrived stamped and angry. She said she had been helping, quietly, paying small amounts here and there, picking up dinners, sending money when a parent asked. Her voice folded at times, but she kept going. She described a pattern that felt like sinking. One debt paid by opening another line of credit, missed payments turned into late fees, the steady creep of interest. She talked about nights when she woke worried and days when she moved through routines with that worry folded in like a secret. When I asked how long, she answered with vague months and then with years. She said she had been carrying it because she didn't want to lose me. The admission landed in the middle of the room like a question mark that didn't belong. I felt startled in a way that had nothing to do with numbers. I felt the sudden sharpness of surprise and the dull ache of betrayal. But most of all, there was confusion. Why keep something like this hidden? Why wait until a ring was on her finger? Her answer came out smaller than I expected. Fear. Fear that I would leave. Fear that she would be seen differently. Fear that the life I wanted to build would crumble if I knew how unstable the ground was. We sat together on the sofa for a long time, talking in shorter, simpler sentences than before. She answered some questions and avoided others. She apologized, said she loved me, explained that she had done it out of loyalty to family and out of panic. I listened and thought about the future, wedding plans, a home, the idea of sharing bills and accounts and dreams. I thought about the promise of a partnership and whether it could survive choices that had been kept out of sight. That night, I lay awake thinking about what honesty means and what it does to plans that already feel real. For the first time since I asked her to marry me, I could not picture a clear path forward. The ring on her finger looked the same, but something about us had changed. I didn't know yet if the change could be repaired. I only knew that the question of trust had arrived, and whatever came next would have to answer it. I asked her directly the next night. Why didn't you tell me before we got engaged? The words sounded heavier than I meant them to. Her eyes filled up quickly. Because I didn't want to lose you, she whispered. I thought once we were engaged, you'd understand. I was scared you'd walk away if you knew how bad it was. I sat there, silent, staring at the person I thought I knew. It wasn't the money that struck me first, it was the timing. She had kept it hidden until after the ring was on her finger. I couldn't shake the thought that marriage, to her, had become a way to secure me before she revealed the truth. The next few weeks were messy. Every time I tried to talk about the debt, the conversations ended in tears or anger. One evening she was sobbing, telling me, I can't abandon my family. They're drowning. What kind of daughter would I be if I stopped helping? Another night she snapped, money isn't everything. Why are you making this bigger than it is? But it wasn't just money. It was trust. It was about whether she saw me as a partner or as a safety net. I started pulling at the threads. She finally let me look at some of her statements, and when I checked her credit score, my chest tightened. Over $120,000 spread across credit cards, loans, and other accounts. The weight of it was staggering. And the worst part, it wasn't only her parents' debt. A large portion was in her name, meaning if we married, those numbers wouldn't just follow her, they'd follow us. I felt betrayed in a way that's hard to describe, not only because she had hidden it, but because she had years to be honest. All those nights we stayed up dreaming about the future, she could have told me. She chose not to. And yet, I still loved her. That was the hardest part. Love doesn't switch off because of one discovery, no matter how big. I'd lie awake at night, my chest tight, torn between two voices inside me. One said I needed to protect her, to stand beside her through this. The other said I deserved better than lies, better than walking blindly into a life that wasn't mine alone to carry. One evening I drove to see my older brother, Mark. I told him everything. The engagement, the slip at dinner, the mountain of debt I now knew about. He leaned back in his chair, thoughtful, and then said something that stuck. Mike, this isn't just about money. This is about trust. If she hid something this big, what else is she willing to hide from you? I didn't answer him right away, but his words pressed on me the whole drive home. Trust. That was supposed to be our foundation. Without it, what were we building? That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Emily asleep next to me. I replayed her explanations, her tears, her promises. Part of me wanted to believe her. That fear had driven her silence, that she would never keep something from me again. But another part couldn't ignore the reality. If she had hidden this, how many other things had I never questioned? The engagement that had started with joy was now tangled in doubt. I wanted to move forward, but the more I thought about it, the more it felt like the life we planned wasn't the same one she had been living all along. I didn't know what to do yet, but I knew this, whatever path I chose, nothing about us would ever feel the same again. The following week, I decided I needed a clear answer. No more vague promises, no more emotional sidesteps. One evening after dinner, I asked her directly, Emily, tell me exactly how much debt is in your name. She froze for a second, then looked down and said softly, about 40,000. Her tone was low, almost apologetic, like she wanted the words to slip by unnoticed. I nodded, keeping my face calm. All right, thank you for telling me. But inside, something pushed me to check for myself. That night, after she went to bed, I pulled her credit report. What I saw made my stomach twist. The number wasn't 40,000. It was closer to 75, nearly double what she had admitted. I sat there at the kitchen table staring at the printout, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. She had lied again. Even after everything that had come out, even after she promised to be honest, she still couldn't bring herself to tell me the full truth. The next morning, I laid the report on the table. You told me 40. It's 75. Why did you lie again? Her face broke down instantly. I was scared you'd finally leave me, she said. Her voice cracked, her hands shaking as she reached for mine. I pulled my hand back. You don't understand, Emily. This isn't just about numbers. You're not just hiding debt, you're hiding the truth. You think marriage is some kind of safety net, but it's not. It's supposed to be a partnership. And I can't marry someone who can't be honest about something as basic as a bank statement. She started crying harder, saying she hadn't meant to trap me, that she had only wanted to protect her parents. She explained how she'd been covering their bills for years, sacrificing her own stability to keep them afloat. And part of me did admire that, her loyalty, her commitment to her family. But another part of me saw it clearly for what it was. If I married her, I wouldn't just be marrying Emily. I'd be marrying into her family's chaos, her family's choices, her family's weight. The next few days were heavy. Emily tried harder than ever. She cooked dinners, sent me sweet texts, wrapped her arms around me when I walked in the door. But it didn't feel the same. It felt like she was trying to cover up a crack with wallpaper. The warmth between us had been replaced with desperation, and I couldn't unsee it. Then came the breaking point. We were sitting with a wedding planner, going over ideas and budgets. Emily was smiling, talking about flowers and menus, and for a moment I almost forgot the weight between us. Then, as we talked about costs, she said casually, well, if we need to, Michael can take out a loan. I looked at her, trying to make sure I heard her right. Excuse me? A loan? For what exactly? Your family's debt, or this wedding? Her cheeks flushed, but she didn't back down. It's not just my family's debt anymore. We're about to be married. It'll be our debt. I felt something inside me turn cold. I didn't argue in front of the planner. I just sat there, nodding, letting the conversation move along. But deep down I knew. That was the moment. The realization hit me with clarity. I wasn't marrying a partner. I was marrying someone who saw my future as a tool, someone who thought my stability was hers to gamble with. That night, I lay awake next to her, staring into the dark. The decision I had been avoiding was becoming clearer. That night after the meeting with the planner, I couldn't keep it in anymore. When we got home, I told her straight, "Emily, I need space." Her eyes widened immediately. "Please don't do this," she said, her voice shaking. "Don't throw us away because of money." I shook my head. "It's not just money, Emily. It's the lies. It's the way you've handled all of this without me, and the way you expect me to clean it up now. You've been making decisions that would drag both of us down without even asking me first. That's not a partnership." She reached for me, but I stepped back. For the first time since the proposal, her tears didn't move me. I packed a small bag and drove to my brother Mark's place. For a week, I ignored her calls and texts. The messages kept coming, long, emotional paragraphs about how much she loved me, promises that she would change, pleas for me to come home. She showed up one evening at Mark's door, pounding and shouting my name, begging me to come outside. I stayed upstairs while Mark told her it wasn't the right time. I wanted to feel guilty, but more than that, I felt exhausted. It was as if every ounce of trust one had poured into our relationship had been slowly leaking out, and now there was nothing left. Then, one morning, Mark slid his phone across the table toward me. "You should see this," he said. On the screen was a Facebook post from one of Emily's cousins. It read, "So proud of my cousin Emily for finding a man who can finally give her family the security they deserve. Excited for the wedding." I stared at it, reading the words over and over. Security they deserve. Not love. Not partnership. Security. It hit me then that I wasn't just dealing with Emily's fear or her mistakes. This wasn't just about her trying to protect her parents. Her entire family had started seeing me as the solution. To them, I wasn't just her fiancé, I was their way out. I sat there with the phone in my hand, my heart beating faster, the post burning into my mind. She hadn't slipped once, she hadn't just made a mistake under pressure. She had been talking about me to her family as if I were their lifeline. The realization stung worse than the debt itself. I thought back to all the nights she'd brushed off my questions, all the times she told me not to worry, all the promises that we'd figure it out. It all clicked. She wasn't just hiding it because she was scared of losing me. She was hiding it because she thought I wouldn't notice once I was locked in. She thought marriage would bind me to her family's problems. That night, lying awake on the couch at Mark's place, I knew what I had to do. The engagement wasn't just troubled, it was broken, and I couldn't see a way to fix it. That evening, I drove back to my apartment, not to stay, but to talk to Emily. She opened the door with red eyes, her face blotchy from crying. For a second, I almost softened, but the memory of that Facebook post cut through. "We need to talk," I said. She nodded, stepping aside. I didn't waste time. "Emily, I saw what your cousin posted. About me, giving your family the security they deserve. Was that how you've been talking about me to them?" Her face drained of color. "Michael, please. Just answer me." I pressed. She covered her mouth, then finally whispered, "I told them you'd help. I told them you wouldn't let me drown. I thought if they saw hope, it would keep them together." My chest tightened. "Hope? Emily, that wasn't hope. That was me. You turned me into a solution, not a partner." Her tears started again, heavy now. "I didn't mean it like that. I love you. I thought once we were married, it would all work out. You're stable, you're steady, and I thought." "You thought wrong," I cut in. My voice was flat, steadier than I expected. "Real love doesn't start with deception. You didn't need me, Emily. You needed a bailout. And I refused to be anyone's escape plan." She dropped into the chair at the table, sobbing. "So that's it. You're leaving me when I need you the most. That's not love, Michael." I shook my head. "No. Love doesn't mean letting someone bury you in lies and debts. Love doesn't mean carrying a weight I never agreed to. Love means honesty, and we don't have that anymore." Her silence filled the room. The sound of her crying followed me as I walked to the bedroom and gathered the rest of my things. For the first time since the engagement began, I felt calm. Sad, yes, but clear. The fallout came fast. Her parents texted me the next day, furious. They accused me of abandoning their daughter, of being heartless, of caring more about money than family. Friends who didn't know the full story whispered that I had cold feet. Some even said I was cruel. I didn't defend myself. I let them think what they wanted, because the truth was too heavy to explain to anyone outside of it. At Mark's place, I sat in silence for days. The ring was gone. The wedding was canceled. The life I thought I was building had ended before it began. And yet, for the first time in months, I could breathe. Looking back, I realized the engagement wasn't ruined by debt. People have debts. People face financial struggles. That alone doesn't break a relationship. What ruined it were the lies. The choices to keep me in the dark until she thought I couldn't leave. The belief that marriage was a contract to trap me into her family's chaos. It hurt to walk away. I loved Emily, and a part of me always will. But love without honesty is like building a house on sand. Sooner or later, it crumbles. Now, months later, I'm grateful I found out before walking down the aisle. I still think about her sometimes, about what might have been if she had trusted me from the beginning. But then I remind myself of something Mark said. If trust is gone, everything else crumbles. The ring may be gone. The wedding may be canceled. But I have something more important. My freedom, my future, and the clarity that love alone isn't enough when honesty is missing. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.